Hey, we are the Lucas Bros, and we're on the tightrope.
We are witnessing America as a failed social experiment.
How do we tell this story in a way that builds the kind of emotional momentum that colorblind ideology built?
So many young brothers and sisters of the younger generation find themselves so far removed from the best of their past.
What are we going to make out of the nothing we've been given? How do you envision possibility? Hey, Cornel, today's episode is such a special episode because we are here today with the Lucas brothers, the co-writers for the new film, Judas and the Black Messiah. And also we're here with actor Lil Rel Howery, who had a powerful cameo in the film. Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King and producer Ryan Coogler and Charles King, tells the story of Fred Hampton, chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, and the story of his betrayal by FBI informant William O'Neill. The film stars Daniel Kaluuya as Fred Hampton, Lakeith Stanfield as William O'Neill, Martin Sheen as J. Edgar Hoover, and the film, Judas and the Black Messiah, is set to premiere in theaters and on HBO Max on February 12th.
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. I'm gonna die for the people 'cause I live for the people. I live for the people 'cause I love the people.
I'll say this, Cornel, we are about to have a fun time today. Please join me in welcoming our guest, Cornel.
Well, the first thing is that they have put together a masterpiece by one of the greatest freedom fighters in the modern world. I didn't just say black or white or red. I'm talking about a visionary and courageous brother from the city of Chicago named Fred Hampton. And how beautiful it is to have the talent and the genius of the younger generation who put it together. I'm talking about the Lucas brothers right out of Newark with the legacy of Mary Baraka and Sarah Vaughan, and then High Point, North Carolina. That's John Coltrane Country. Come on, in high school. Then we got Lil Rel from Chicago, Curtis Mayfield, and the others. They have brought us together to lay bare the life, the witness, the courage, the sacrifice, the charisma, the beauty of Fred Hampton, and we hope people will go see that movie. We thank Sister Kenya, pardon him for helping enable us to come together, and well, we can just open it up to them because I'm telling you, my heart overflows. It overflows.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you all with us. I mean, we got a million questions, but first, just welcome to the tightrope. And I know we don't have a lot of time, so you're all welcome back. I'm just saying that now.
Of course.
So what's the story behind the story? Very quickly, how did you all end up doing this film, and what really excited you about taking this on? Let's start.
We want to say thank you guys for the welcome, and we are truly honored to be on your podcast, and we want to thank you guys for giving us the time to talk about it. But honestly, it goes back to college. We were studying at the College of New Jersey. We actually saw you, Dr. West, to have a conversation with Professor Glaude many years back at Princeton University. So it's full circle. Yeah.
Exactly. That's rich there, brother. I didn't realize that.
So we came across the story of Fred in Dr. Christopher Fisher's. I don't know if you know Dr. Christopher Fisher at the College of New Jersey, but we came across his Fred Hampton story, and it always struck us as both tragic, but also like, why wasn't it more widely known? Why was it such a marginal sort of footnote kind of in Black history? And it kind of troubled us. But once we got into entertainment, we were like, one of our priorities was, we got to get this film made. Right. We got to get this more widely known, because here's this guy, a 21-year-old who had the charisma of a King or an X, who had the organizational skills of an Obama, who was assassinated by the state. And it's like, that's a story that everyone needs to know. Right. So it was a priority of ours.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lil Rel, what was your thinking? How did you get engaged in this project?
Well, a couple of things. So we was all on a series together, the Lucas Brothers, with my friends, and we actually had a sketch series on True TV at the time.
Oh, right.
Friends of the people.
Yes.
Their desk was next to mine, right? So one day I was looking like, why they doing all this research? Right? Like, why y'all doing this? Because sometimes they would research things that, I guess, for no reason.
For entertainment purposes.
They was researching, and I think at the time I was joking, like I was doing like a random Chicago character, telling me, yeah, that's Fred Hampton, like just whatever. And it's so crazy that, because it's a full circle moment that, like, yo, they was doing all this, and this is why we was working on our own show, right? And all that, and like to see it come to the forefront now, and that's one thing I'm really proud of them, that my friends are a huge part of telling this story. I'm from the west side of Chicago, so like this story is very deep rooted in me. I know Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. You know what I mean? Like when I first started doing stand up, I met him early in my career because I knew one of the promoters. So I literally would just hang out in the office and just hear him talk for hours. Like, cause he'll talk. So he's going for hours. And and when I found out he was, because I'm like, my family has always talked about, like my uncle, you have spoken at my uncle's church, Dr. West, Pastor Marshall Hatch.
Marshall Hatch is
that's my uncle, yeah.
Mount Pilgrim?
Yeah.
Missionary?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I got to stand up. No, you go right ahead. He's my brother. He's my brother. Man, go right ahead.
I mean, he talks about you all the time, like in how he talks.
Yeah, brother.
It's like he even invites me. I live in LA. He'd be like, Dr. West coming. I'm like, bro, I'm not flying in. I'm in LA, man. Hey, make it. But that's who my family is. So a lot of the historic things that happened in Chicago was always instilled in me. I grew up down the street from the house he was murdered in. You know what I'm saying? So like, I would just walk to the store with my father, and everyone's like, this is what happened. He'll point out right there, this is what happened. This is where this happened at. And so it just felt like I wasn't even attached to it at first. I had to make a call, and I don't do that all the time. I did a Hollywood move, like, hey, y'all gonna do this movie, I need to be in it now.
Yeah.
So I talked to them, and I also talked to Ryan Coogler about it. And it's a small role, but it's a powerful scene. Really dope. I was really grateful to be a part of this project, and I'm just so happy that people really starting to understand the depth of Fred Hampton, like how, like it was. I think a lot of times the way they used to, talk about the Panthers and there's such a terroristic narrative, yeah. Right? And Fred Hampton at 21, right? And that's I think the movie is gonna open people out. Like, I know he was only 21 years old, right? Like he was only 21. Like the baby, what he was doing was so fearful to the right people who were scared of him. They had to because it wasn't just about us. It was about he brought everybody together, and that scared them.
But see, what you all have been able to do is to show the degree to which we trying to catch up with Fred Hampton. He ahead of his time. Brother Jesse talking about the Rainbow Coalition. Fred Hampton was already there.
Right.
He talking about poverty. Fred Hampton was there. Predatory capitalism, imperial militarism. He's already there, dealing with the question of men and women, black brothers and black sisters. The way y'all work that love thing out, because I'm always looking at it through Coltrane's lens, love supreme. You know what I mean? That's the standard. That's our tradition. That's why Hatcher's family is spiritual nobility. They got love supreme. The West Side of Chicago, with all of the ministry of all the brothers and so forth. And what you all were able to do in that movie, it's a masterpiece, man. It's powerful.
I mean,
it was important. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please, you go on.
No, I was going to say, like, love was such a prominent, it played a prominent role in Chairman Fred Hampton's philosophy. He was all about his love for the people, and that's one of the things we wanted to show about Hampton and the Panthers. Is like they led with love. You can paint them as terrorists, but when you hear Fred Hampton speak, you know that his whole motivation was love for the people. But I mean, even King was demonized by the state and by the media apparatus, and his whole notion was by love, and I think Hampton's was as well. And I think it's very easy to call someone a terrorist when they represent an ideology that's in stark contrast to the sort of capitalistic fascist ideology that the American system has completely, embraced.
Yeah. And the way in which you chose to focus on O'Neill to tell the story, did a lot of things to really shed light on Fred as an ideal, as well as a literal person, right? Who was an amazing figure, an amazing human being, but he's also an idea, right? And so it's almost, when you think about O'Neill and Hampton as like, are we going to nurture this idea? Or are we going to be, traitors to this idea? Who are we going to be? Because the film really encourages you to think about it that way. Like, well, we killed Fred Hampton. Somebody killed him, right? It wasn't just the man who killed Fred Hampton. So did you all struggle over how much you wanted to, sort of talk about O'Neill or center him? Because it really gave us a really interesting lens on how we receive figures like Fred Hampton and what kinds of struggles we might be facing when we're confronted with that level of sacrifice.
Right. So, I mean, philosophically, that's a great question. Like, philosophically, we've always been interested in duality. You don't understand. You don't understand.
Sorry. It took me a second.
In terms of understanding Fred as an idea, Lil is also an idea, right? And we felt like they sort of represented two opposite sides. In order to understand Fred's commitment to his people and commitment to socialism, it was interesting to us to juxtapose Bill O'Neill's commitment to himself, his commitment to almost a capitalist individualism that he sort of embraced. So we thought that it would be a stronger story to see both of their stories side by side. And we were also playing with two notions of freedom too, right? Like, Fred represents sort of a positive conception of freedom, and we felt like William O'Neill represents sort of that negative conception of freedom. And we had those two ideologies sort of competing against one another with the hope that by the end we arrive at a larger conception of freedom that could. And then it's like the question of, can freedom exist in a police state? Right. You know what I mean? Like, can we be free in a police state? That's a question that I ask myself all the time. Like, what is freedom if you're still, completely overwhelmed by the militaristic apparatus? Like, what is freedom? Is it a concept that can even exist? Right.
Yeah.
But real quick, that's what makes this unique too. I think you guys are able to tell the story because, like, a lot more people, and we've talked about this before.
Right.
Honestly, a lot of us are more like William O'Neill than Fred Hampton.
Oh.
Fred Hampton is like a very unique person who's like, for real, was committed to dying for the people.
Right.
William O'Neill represents a lot of us that has to make, and I'm not saying I'm William, I'm just saying.
I'll be careful what I say around you.
But it's about making choices, right? You feel the pressure of being, you want to fit into stuff, especially I'm in Hollywood. So a lot of times, you talk all this stuff, but once you fit in, are you still talk the same way? And things were missing. Like, the brother at one point talked as if the FBI agent was his mentor.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting. Like, because he invited you in the house. He wasn't helping you.
That's exactly right.
Because he was nice to you.
He gave you a little scotch, a little fancy scotch.
That's my mentor.
But
that's a guy who's been doing his thing on his own, right? For a long time. Stealing cars. He was just trying to figure things. So it's I think people, honestly, it's almost like a mirror situation where, like, yeah, you can say whatever you want about this brother, but do you understand kind of what he's been up against, what was created in our country?
Right.
Have to make a decision like that. And it was a no-brainer at first.
Right.
Well, it just hit me so hard because all of us wrestling with the spiritual and moral question of whether we gonna pick up the cross and serve the people or be in for the cut to make the cash. And all of us have this inside of us. We need some cash in order to survive.
Right.
We want some kind of cut. So we got to get some concession for a system that we can't fundamentally change at the moment. But we want to preserve our integrity and our dignity. And we know we're going to bear some kind of cross because we're going to love our moms, we're going to love our daddies, we're going to love our kids, we're going to serve them. They ain't going to be in it. We ain't going to be looking at them just in terms of cash. Right. So it's this struggle that's going on. And then when you look at it collectively, because see, we got a black bourgeoisie these days that got decadent proclivities. They too much in for the cut, for spectacle and image, and want to act like they bearing the cross when it ain't no cross. It's just a little, popcorn and paper mache. You see what I mean? So somebody like Fred, he is the real thing. He bearing his cross. He liked Malcolm. He liked Martin. He liked Ella. He liked Stokely. Carmichael and Stokely are in condition, but I mean, he liked the folk who are for real. You see what I mean? That's really happening at the highest level. It really is. And so you all dealt with that in a very artistic way because you didn't demonize either way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
Right.
That's very important because all of us are wrestling with these issues. I like how you put that, Brother Hatch. Absolutely.
But that's
Lil Rel.
Look, that's my family. You call me Hatch. It's so interesting because that's what made Daniel and Lakeith performances brilliant to me because
yes.
Like with Lakeith, you can see him wrestling with whatever he's doing, right? It's see where he start talking crazy, like, man, I'm gonna find whoever did it, and blah blah blah. And he gets in the car and he's still feeling himself, but he's calmed down. It's just the way Lakeith performed that.
That was fantastic.
He's quite an artist. He's quite an artist.
He's great.
He did a good job of, like you just described, Chairman, is that he loved Malcolm. He's listened to the speeches. He's which I love about the love story, that's how they related to each other. Right. That was fascinating. So
revolutionary love.
Revolutionary love.
Yes, revolutionary love.
And the sister, what was her name? She played a good role.
Dominique Fisher. She's a star.
She threw down. She threw down. I mean, Daniel, he did this brother doing his thing. I'm telling you.
Right.
So, I want to go back to this, William O'Neill problem, right? Like, how we're all in it. I mean, do you all think that Cornel's sort of moving me toward this question? I'm gonna blame him for this question. Is basically what I'm saying. But, okay, all right, help me out. But I guess what I'm saying is, this get mine philosophy of, I'm going to get mine and take care of myself so I don't go to jail and I'm going to perform whatever I need to perform. Don't we have a crisis of that right now in the Black community?
I would say without a doubt. I think capitalism has infected us all. Right. A lot of us live by the creed of, how much money can we make? How can I get mine? I mean, that's some people wake up in the morning and think, how can I make the most money that I can make today? Right. It's a people.
Right. But I mean, it's even celebrated. I guess what I'm saying is the thing about O'Neill was that we want to think of him as a traitor, right? Because, he seems like an obvious traitor. But when you think of him as an idea, now we talking about we're traitors amongst ourselves in a bigger way. And I just think this film has the potential, because of the way it's dealing with those two issues, to force people, if they're going to take y'all seriously, which I certainly hope they do,
they better.
Then they're going to have to come to terms with what does it mean to basically cozy up to power And you could have all the reasons you want. You got to pay your mortgage. You bought a house that costs too much. You got to aspirate. Your grandmother needs. You can have all the reasons you want. But it's really not that doggone different, because every time we do that, then the death of the idea that Fred Hampton stood for is imminent, right? That is on the horizon every time we do that.
That's a powerful point.
That's why it's so interesting. Like, I was just telling somebody this the other day, and at this point, I'm just gonna say whatever I want. But the gatekeeper idea, right? Everybody love bringing that up in Hollywood. The gatekeepers. But I really think if I can be honest, I think the gatekeepers are black, right? I look at these award things. Not just the big award shows, the black ones, right? Who they're nominating, they pick the same exact shows, the same exact people. Which is why I think it's dope that my friends did this movie. Now all these people that's been talking like, oh, I stand for us and I do this and do that, y'all still making buffoonery.
Hell, well, go on.
Way older than y'all been in this business way longer than us. And that's what you've been doing?
Yep. A whole lot of
gatekeepers. I believe it's our community that's gatekeeping now. We've obtained financial success now. We're producing stuff. We're writing things. It's people with studios. We can start doing things differently, but we got people that are gatekeepers. I don't care about them personally because my God is my gatekeeper, so you can't stop that. That is. But then also I have once again, that's why I'm proud of my friends. I have all these creative friends, not this. It's a group of us. Our group text alone is the craziest group text in the world. But I got these brothers and sisters I work with that is not afraid to tell stories and make sure we're honest with our voices and not gatekeep, because it's behind that now. Come on.
Right. I mean, like when we were constructing the story about Bill and we went from the perspective of Bill, and then we knew that, as Rel said, some of the gatekeepers were going to give us blowback because you don't see a story like this. You know what I mean? No one would think to put it make the protagonist the snitch. But we felt like by making the protagonist the snitch, we would have to wrestle with some tough questions. We would have to look within ourselves and say, well, wait a second, we're all cozy enough to capitalism. Not all of us, of course, but a lot of us are cozy enough to capitalism. A lot of us believe in the tenets of capitalism, and we live in. And I don't think it's very disingenuous to criticize racism, but then sort of ignore the menace of capitalism. I think King nailed it, that these two things are intimately connected, and I feel like I think for some people in the elites, they feel uncomfortable going down that path of criticizing capitalism because it's responsible for a lot of things that they have. So I get it. I just don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be suggesting black capitalism is the new messiah. I mean, the way people talk about, black capital and building businesses as if the businesses are black, everybody's going to be all right. Now, it would be better to have some black ones if we're going to have businesses. But the fundamental question is very much avoided. Cornel spends a lot of time, really grappling with that and pursuing that, but everybody's not that invested. So this film hopefully can create a cultural way in, to open that door.
Yeah. I think this film is a turning point in terms of where Black America is regarding success versus greatness. You see, O'Neal tried to be highly successful. Fred Hampton was great. The criteria of greatness is he or she is greatest who will be a servant, who will render whatever gifts they have, empty themselves, and ensure that they use those gifts to empower the people. You see, but still, he's an extreme case because most folk not willing to die. I mean, that moment when he says he's willing to live and die for the people, it almost brought tears because, that's what's kept black people going. But most people are not going to go that far. We understand it. Martyrdom cannot be normative for the black struggle. We're going to have a whole lot of folk. But it lays out what the ideal is. Then it swings over to O'Neal, you see. And so the thing is, this film, if Hollywood had any kind of artistic criteria, it went Oscar overnight, but that was true for Malcolm too. When Denzel and Brother Spike. But the important thing is that greatness often has little to do with winning the prizes.
Right.
You see, Curtis Mayfield never won a Grammy. Coltrane never won a Grammy. Milli Vanilli won 2. So what? You see what I mean? So that if the Oscar comes, magnificent, but it's the greatness, it's the point of reference of the people who will be empowered so that you will be a voice in the caravan of love that has constituted the Black freedom struggle. That's the Lucas brothers. That's Lil Rel from West Side Chicago.
Right. And what we say is that we're not telling any individual story. We're telling a story about COINTELPRO. This is ultimately a story about the FBI's relationship with Black America in the late 1960s. It's about a government-sanctioned program that taxpayers funded to assassinate a citizen. If you're telling such a larger story, you're going to have to go from different perspectives in order to get the nuances of COINTELPRO. Otherwise, you're not going to even think about that aspect.
Right. I mean, and how they had to infiltrate the community with Black folk. And, Lil Rel, your character, was also working for the FBI, right?
Right. And that's what's interesting. Like, even just to go to tag along what they're saying, I like the fact where it starts from. I want people to remember he was 21 when he was murdered, right?
That's right.
Start from his childhood all the way up. It can make it look like he lived a life. But he really didn't. Like, most of his life was fighting.
Right.
I think by not going so far back and doing all that, if you keep it to where it's at, it focuses, this is what you did. Murder a 21-year-old citizen for doing the right things. You want that to stay there. He was 21. Like, I want that to like impact people, because what's crazy, like when I was a kid hearing these stories, I wasn't 21 yet, right? I was still young. I'm 41. Right. And when I think about I've watched the movie a million times, but like my heart breaks that I feel like, dang, he wasn't even protected by like some of the OGs that should have been like looking out for him.
Right.
Yeah.
It's great, and with me now, the mindset is, I got to make sure I invest and protect the young voices and people who he was just great. Right. It wasn't no protection. So like, I like the fact that you guys took it from that. And you showed two different sides of it. We showed the FBI do what they did. Most of the time, they didn't do all the dirty work. I think they enjoyed when they pit us against each other.
I think so. Oh yeah, I think so.
You know what I mean? Like, it was a fun thing for them to see. So like, I think it's brilliant from where y'all started, because a lot of times I see biopics and it makes you forget about, like, because it's rushed, right? It's like, I think sometimes if they just take it from certain places in people's lives, that's what I would love to see.
Absolutely. And it's the fundamental truth that, a genuine love of Black people in a white supremacist empire is subversive and revolutionary, and they will come at you.
Right.
And it don't make no difference what it means. Obama put $1 million bounty on Asada in Cuba.
Right.
He and Eric did. We still love the brothers. They just wrong as two left shoes when it comes to what it means to love Black people, especially Black brothers and sisters who are poor and working class in the hood. We ain't talking about the Black middle class. They got all kind of little titillation and stimulation going on there. I'm talking about the ones who's wrestling with hood conditions, you see. So that J. Edgar Hoover and the others, they will do anything to make sure certain Black people sell out and crush those who have a genuine love of Black people.
Right.
Robert, you got all the different Black clans with Malcolm, with Martin, with the Black Panther Party, with all these different, so that story needs to be told. Now I'm a Christian, so I'm trying to love everybody. That's me, right? But we try to love everybody, but we ain't naive.
Right.
Oh, we got enemies, and Jesus is running out the money changers, god dang it, in the name of poor people.
Right.
He gets crushed. He gets crucified.
Right.
People need to know that's true.
But the idea, that's true, Cornel, that's true. But the idea didn't get crushed.
Right.
And in fact,
we got the younger generation
exactly. And people like you who are part of the
Hampton is alive. Fred Hampton Jr. is alive. The legacy is alive. The movement's alive. But they're trying to crush us.
Right.
That ain't no old thing. They still trying to crush us now.
That's true. But I think, my whole motto is you can't fight something you can't see. So what's beautiful about this is this forces everybody to be thinking about, well, who is really doing the right thing or who's just looking like that? and what's actually going on. You can't fight what you can't see. So to me, this is a really instructive film. It's very powerful, very dramatic. It's got a ton of mystery. So it checks all the boxes for an entertainment standpoint, which is obviously important in this era, but it really forces you to have a conversation. And I think it's a really terrific opportunity to help us think, like, who do we want to be? Here are these two ways to be, and they're not the only ways. There's all these ways in between. That's on the spectrum, and we got to decide where we're going to throw down our rope, and that's where we're going to go. So to me, it's very hopeful in the sense that it gives us a feeling of options. You look at all the people in the free breakfast program, and all the people just working on behalf of young people. They're not right. That's where the power is in there. Of course, Fred was critical, but they were doing all that work, and they did it after he was assassinated. Right. So anyway, we're just so grateful to you all for doing this work.
Instant classic. It's the masterpiece.
Thank you. Wow.
All right.
You got the artistic, you got the spiritual, you got the political. It ain't all just politics. It ain't all just spirit. It ain't all just art. It's all together. It's like
it's really beautiful.
No, it's all of us there, and it's for real. That's the bottom line. That's what it's about.
Woo! Tell him, Cornel. Yes,
wow. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. No, that's Chicago and Newark. Chicago and Newark together. You see what I mean?
We got to get y'all to come back, because I got like 10 questions, because all the comedy connections and how y'all drop out of law school a week before you're done. I got all kind of questions.
University, NYU.
I got mad questions.
We'll definitely come back. We'll definitely come back for sure.
Yeah, it would be great, because all you comedians, to me, there's an insight that is so powerful in Black comedy to me that is underestimated, and I just want to thank y'all for that as well, in addition to this, because I think that plays a role here in terms of seeing just the absurdity. It's like what? Anyway, just really appreciate y'all. Y'all are welcome back anytime on the Tightrope, and good luck with this film, and you got the Tightrope's blessing. That was just so exciting, wasn't it?
It was extraordinary. It was intense, and at the same time, full of a lot of substance. A lot of content. I wish we had another 30 minutes or another hour to talk with those brothers.
Yeah. I mean, to hear a philosophical intention in a film, narrative framework, I'm sure you were quite happy about that.
Absolutely. But you can just tell they're intellectual. They're thinking critically about this, and Lil Rel is right in there as well.
For sure.
Insights and wisdom, and of course, you always in the vanguard. We all following you in that sense. But I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did.
So we're very happy that you join us every so often out there. Come be on the Tightrope with us as much as you can. Subscribe to all the social media and on YouTube. And if you want more connectivity and some extra content, then try to sign up at Patreon, where we have our own Patreon community. And if you go to www.patreon.com/The Tightrope Pod, one word, you'll see us there with some special extra footage and whatnot. And until then, or until we see you the next episode, stay strong, and we'll see you on the Tightrope. All right, Cornel, see you soon.
Salute you, my dear sister Tricia.